Yes, it is Sunday here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Hey, it's a beautiful day out there. I hope you're enjoying this spring weather that we are having. Wow. Get out, plant some flowers, enjoy the outdoors. But always remember, you can take us with you. There's an app out there. We have an app for that. You can listen to the DPB show, the Kevin Ferris Speechless with Kevin Ferris. You can listen to Kat Peterson, whether that's Conservative Kat or whether that's the Morning Buzz. It's on our app, cities929.com. We have an app for that. And now we are live on Facebook, Twitter, and we will be on YouTube and Rumble currently. Kevin reminds me, Rumble. And if you're joining us on Facebook or Rumble or Twitter right now, you can see that I have a guest with me, and it is one of our frequent contributors. That would be our friend, former lieutenant governor candidate, former talk show host, currently still a mother, experienced a graduation of her last child last night, correct?
It was Friday night, actually. Yes,
Friday night?
my first one graduated in 2003, so 20 years ago, and I had 3 in between, so a total of 5 kids are now done with high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's what it's about. And, you know, balancing all the hats that you do, Stephanie, I mean, it's hard to keep up with it, but you are a person, and I was just explaining to the audience a little bit about the message, and fortunately, the pastor from my church has a show now that precedes the DPB show. And today we're talking about the message of the Holy Spirit, hence the reason I sent the Holy Spirit text message to you earlier. You can tell people of faith by the way that they represent themselves to others. And I believe you exude that same spirit. I know the Spirit dwells within you because it comes across, because you juggle so many things. You have a husband who has a small business, Boss Dogs, up in the Lisle area. And
in Lisle,
in Lisle.
Actually.
And I say the Lisle area because I'm trying to get everybody that's in the Lisle
Yeah,
area
in
beyond.
DuPage County. Come on down, even
DuPage
Cook County.
and beyond. You don't have to live in DuPage County to go to Boss Dogs.
For sure. We take everybody's money. Yeah.
Shameless plug, because you are a capitalist, a free marketeer.
Oh, for sure.
And so you've obviously business owner, mom, former talk show host, current talk show host, and even being asked to help with this candidate, Vivek, who is running for president, or the nomination for on the Republican side for president. You were called into duty to kind of help him spur his campaign in the Chicagoland area. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I know Kathy Barnett. She ran to be the U.S. Senator in in Pennsylvania. She was doing very well. Dr. Oz got in her race, and the rest is history. But she impressed Vivek so much because she ran a grassroots campaign. She only had less than $2 million, but she managed to get 1/3 of the vote. And so he was very impressed with her. So when he decided to run for president, he's like, Kathy, I want you to be on my team. And so she and I are good friends. I got to meet him the day he announced. We were in New Hampshire. He announces on Tucker. The next day, I'm there with him, and the whole rollout, kind of like with the Bailey campaign. We're doing bakeries and pop-ups with pastors, and we're just all over. We hop on a plane that was in New Hampshire. We go to Iowa, and then I got to be with him for CPAC. And so this time, I'm sitting here just watching American Idol with my husband about 9:50 at night on Sunday. And Kathy calls me and she said, Vivek saw the viral video. It's a little hard to say viral video and Vivek about Vivek, right. So about the Chicagoans that showed up at the high school, concerned about who's coming into their neighborhood, and said, no, these people are unvetted. So that video went viral everywhere. So she said, Vivek wants to be in Chicago on Friday to meet with these people and to talk about this issue. As I said, it was a little bit before 10 o'clock at night. She wanted a Zoom call the next morning at 9 with players. And because obviously I know everybody in Chicago, even before I ran for lieutenant governor, I had a radio show. So it was my job to know everybody, Democrats, Republicans, independents. I put together a team of Republicans that live in Chicago. We had that Zoom call. We spent 4 days planning it, and over 100 people showed up at this great venue. Well, it was very important to Vivek to have their voices heard. He didn't want to just show up and just talk. He wanted a panel of people in the community. But I got to tell you, David, after much effort by myself and Kathy and others, we really wanted people that were in that video that had gone viral. They wouldn't come. They would not come and be with him. And it just blows me away. As a candidate, they kept telling me, hey, you Republicans never show up in our community. Where are you? Here, a presidential candidate shows up in your community, does a town hall from 9:30 to noon. He walks across the street, gets a haircut, talking to people in the barbershop, people coming from everywhere, unvetted questions, asking him tough questions, and he handled each and every one of them. Then from there, we walked from the barbershop to the site of the school, did an amazing press conference. And I'm going back and forth with some of these community leaders, texting them. I said, here's a gentleman who wants you to come and tell him about how are we going to form my policies at the border? And you won't even come and spend 5 minutes with him. Just if you think this is a political stunt, if you think he's not authentic, come and challenge him. And I was really surprised that some of the major people that I knew wouldn't even come to meet him. But you know what? He shines wherever he goes. I mean, I don't know about you, David. I've never been in the company of a presidential candidate. I've never been in the company of somebody worth $600 million. But when you're sitting with Vivek, he's the same age as my son. He's brilliant. He's genuine. He's authentic, and he's so engaging, and just people are just drawn in. And recently, these people on Twitter were challenging him because of his statements on affirmative action. And they were Black conservatives. And you know what he said on Twitter? He said, I want to meet you. He flew a woman out to meet her. And now this woman is all in on Vivek. She was the biggest one challenging him on Twitter, but she said she got him and she understood. And you know what? He doesn't change who he is. He brought his palm card to the Black community. Right there on the palm card, it says, I'm going to do away with affirmative action. And that's the first thing someone asks him. What do you mean? And he will explain it to you, race-based advantages and how it doesn't work. And this is what I want to do. And people, well, the first question that he got, a woman said, well, I'm not going to vote for you if you're not for reparations. If you don't write that check, I don't want to hear anything you got to say. And he handled her so well. I mean, he's authentic, as I said, he's genuine. And he is just a brilliant guy that's just so determined to be president, so determined. He calls himself America First 2.0, and he wants to put America first because he's the son of two immigrants that came here with little of nothing. He loves America, worked really hard, and I don't know, he went to Harvard and Yale because that's what everybody does. Just a brilliant guy. And I was just so impressed with how he handled Chicago's a tough swamp. I mean, there's swamps, but there's Chicago. He handled it. I said to Kathy, one of my last text messages to her, you guys have been fully baptized in the Chicago way swamp.
Well, and somebody like Vivek, how old is Vivek?
37.
37 years of age. DeSantis is 44. You, me, people like us, the Republican Party isn't a bunch of old white men.
No.
And that's the stigma that I think has been out there for so long. It's interesting when you say your friend Kathy from Pennsylvania running for the U.S. Senate. And, there are many, many people that make up the Republican Party.
Oh.
And somebody like Vivek, I realize the numbers and what the trending shows us is going to happen.
Yeah.
But look at Joe Biden. Everyone that was on stage with Joe Biden almost ended up in his cabinet, including the Mayor Pete, over the transportation department, which we know what a debacle that has become. But that goes to show you this is the training ground. If Trump is to be our nominee or somebody else, he's going to look along the lines of the candidates that came along and the messaging that they put out and what they stood for. And did they continue to promote the swamp? It's interesting. I don't hear President Trump, former President Trump, mention anything ill about any of the other candidates that have entered the fray. Well, I guess he a little bit of Nikki Haley, mostly DeSantis. But even really, what's desanctimonious? I mean, what does that mean? I mean, I don't think that's as big of a slam as they like to think it is.
I think he just recently changed it to DeSales tax. I think that's
DeSales
the new
tax?
one. Yeah, DeSales
Ooh,
tax. That
ooh.
one's a little bit harder, but
Oh,
That is a
and he
little
did tell
harsher.
the story of DeSantis eating pudding with his finger, so I don't know. That's not very complimentary, but ooh.
You know, and once again, I think that is Trump being.
Yeah,
That's who the
right,
man
right,
is.
right.
He's from Queens. He's a fighter. He's a street fighter. He's not going to hold anything back. He's not going to sugarcoat it by any
Right.
means. And you know what? It served us well, because if it wasn't for Donald Trump, and you and I have discussed this many times, we would not be where we're at today. I mean, I led the show off, Stephanie, with who's that knocking at your door? When you watch the whistleblowers from the FBI telling their story, myself, I experienced the FBI coming to my door shortly after the January 6th rally in D.C., and they were knocking, and they wanted to show their presence. And of course, it's always they're there, they're cordial, they're friendly. We played a little bit of the ring video where the two federal field agents were telling the lady that she couldn't take their photograph, even though they were on a ring video of a Ring doorbell. It's like, come on, you have no more self-awareness than that to realize that you're being videoed as we speak.
Right.
But that's the country we live in now.
Yeah.
And that's where things are going. We're going to see more and more of this effort to quiet, to silence, to restrict people. And Vivek, he's not going to be silenced, is he?
Oh, no, he's not. And what other presidential candidate immediately saw that video and decided to come to Chicago and walk the streets and talk to people unscripted? He didn't care. You didn't need to like register ahead of time, and he didn't have to vet your questions. He took any question that someone gave him. And that's just to let you know that he's very serious. He'll go where he's called. He admits that he doesn't know everything. I love when he's being challenged by someone on an issue that they're 180 degrees away from each other. He's like, we're not going to always agree, but I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to be open-minded. I'm going to tell you why I believe this. He is rooted in what he believes in. No script. I didn't see any speech writers, no one telling him what to say. He doesn't use any kind of like teleprompter. He's just telling you what he believes. And that's just something that you don't see all the time. The coolest thing about that whole day, they called on the top-notch security team, and it happened to be the team that worked with me, part of the gentlemen that work with us on the Bailey campaign. So that was kind of old home week to see gentlemen that had protected Darren and I were there protecting him, which was really cool. But he made a big splash. But the saddest part, in addition to the activists that didn't show up, the local media just ignored him. He was on Dan and Amy, but all the ABC, NBC, local, did they say, oh, this presidential candidate came to talk to these people? Nope. Getty's was there, New York Times and the Post. I mean, all those other AP, those kind of media, Fox News, but local media pretended that he wasn't there. They did the same thing with Darren and I. We show up and do something. If they weren't ignoring us, they were trying to change our message and make it nefarious as to why we were there. But we know that about the media. So Trump taught us that. You know who they are, act accordingly, and stop whining that it's not fair.
Well, and the other thing going forward that we realize is they do not want to report upon any narrative that isn't along their ideological lines. Therefore, just sit down, be quiet. We're not going to give you coverage. And if you do happen to get something out there like the Durham report, we're going to deny, and lie. That's going to be part of the rest of my show. I'm going to talk about the lying that goes on. How much have they lied? And how much will they continue to lie? They're not going to stop lying and denying. They're not going to take accountability or responsibility. Hey, I know we're up against the break. I want to keep you through afterwards before the bottom of the hour break. So you can kind of wrap it up, tell people a little bit about what lies ahead with you and the state of Illinois and the Republican Party, and how you see that we can move this thing forward. Because obviously we need something to happen in Illinois, and it's just not happening. But we're going to cover that with Stephanie Trussell here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal, when we come back. All right.
Very good. Awesome.
See? And let's see what we have. Oh, I see Kevin Lauer. Thanks, Kevin, for chiming in the chat. There is nothing supporting the actual existence of a federal law enforcement agency. Law enforcement within the boundary of the United States is reserved for the states and the municipalities within. Our country was founded upon a moral and just society, culture based in Christianity. So true. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Stephanie,
Mhm.
I think that we've got a lot happening,
Oh yeah.
and I think it's easy to get discouraged. But if you're people of faith and you're people of hope and you're people of joy, and
And
you
that's what
know
we are.
where
Hmm.
the ultimately this thing ends,
Well,
you
we
know,
know what we know the ending of the book and how
that's
and
right.
who's going to prevail, and we know that it used to be subliminal. Now the darkness is just bold. They boldly, just I mean, not deny God. And I just saw a video. I went to look for a video about making TikTok cinnamon rolls. And the first video that pops up of a young Black woman saying, "Can you guys are still start shopping at Target?" And she showed the brand where they advocate for Satanism and witchcraft. And she's like, "Who's still going to Target?" And I haven't gone to Target since 2017, no, 2016, knock on wood, because of the whole the men in the bathroom thing. But they're boldly, everything's rainbow, everything's denying God. And it's like, if we don't start showing up, because they're telling us who they are. You know, David, you and I are old enough to remember women and children were protected. Women are being replaced by men in almost everything. Children are now put in positions where they're vulnerable because of the woke society. And David, you have two daughters. Can you imagine your daughter's a freshman and they have a volleyball team, and there's a guy who decides his senior year he's a boy, and he's in the locker room with all of his equipment still intact? Can you imagine that? Would we ever be in a position
You
like
remember
that?
the movie Walking Tall, Stephanie?
Oh yeah.
Well, that would be me, and it would be 2x4.
Right.
They would be handcuffed me.
They would.
You know, the
Go
interesting
ahead.
thing is Kevin was the roving reporter on the street with the activist protesters, the anti-DeSantis movement,
Mm.
and he had one of our very own local celebrities, Sonny Garcia, self-professed Antifa and Marxist and communist, and he actually was in Kevin's face within inches. And he even said, "Hail Satan."
But
I don't know if I
they
want to be recorded by saying "Hail Satan." You know, Sonny, I have an inkling that you were one of the people that turned me into the FBI, but I
would
think
you
we're up against
okay.
the back end of the coming back in the show. But "Hail
Wow. But
Satan."
yeah, they're bold now. They don't care. You know, there's a satanic bakery that I got to when I was on my campaign travels.
Are we
I was going
there?
to go in. Are we
Oh,
there?
hold
We got to
on,
go.
one
Okay, go
sec.
ahead. Hmm.
You know, some of the best conversations happen during the break, actually. So you can catch that via our live Facebook feed. We're also on Twitter, Rumble, soon to be on YouTube. Before break, Stephanie Trussell is with me talking about her experience with Vivek. But we kind of bled into
Hmm.
this craziness, this satanic
Oh my
movement. We're
gosh.
talking about Kevin, our very own speechless
Hmm.
host over here to my left. Kevin and his experience with our local personality, Sonny Garcia, saying, "Hail Satan,"
Oh my gosh.
right
Hmm.
outside of the DeSantis dinner last Friday. But you were talking about this satanic bakery. Go ahead.
Yeah, it
We
was so
cut you off.
weird. Maddie, she and I love resale shops and bakeries. So we had seen this bakery. We were thinking on our way out of the resale shop, we're going to get one of these donuts or cookies. So the woman that owned the retail shop started whispering. She said, the bakery next door is satanic. And she's whispering as if they could hear her. And she's a Christian. She's almost afraid to proclaim her faith. And they're over there selling bazelza buns or something and boldly being,
Beelzebubs.
I'm like, so she's over here whispering, and they're over there boldly proclaiming those are, whatever satanic cookies they're selling. And I kept thinking, as a business owner, if a satanic bakery opened up next door to my business, my Bible study group, we'd be out there praying over it. And I wouldn't sit quietly afraid to say something, but they're bold and we're afraid. We're like Gideon in the wine press, just trying don't draw any attention. But God calls us to be bold. Once you proclaim Jesus as your savior, you can't be shy. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. They're bold and unapologetic. We have to be the same way.
And you're right. We're up against Kevin had to take a quick call. If you see him on the screen over there, he's jotting some
he's
narcs
working.
down
He's juggling. He's got plates spinning. I see.
We have a very loyal follower, listener, who's with the American Legion, and we're up against Memorial Day. And he just wants to make everyone aware of what transpires on Memorial Day. Believe it or
it's not about a white sale. It's not about, everybody gets confused what Memorial Day is about. It's not about veterans. It's about those that gave the ultimate sacrifice, that made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom.
Stephanie, I wish I could keep you on here for
a
long time, but
that's okay.
That's one of our first. Darren and I were down on Memorial Day of 2020. 2020.
Wow.
That's
where it all began.
Pandemic. Lori Lightfoot had shackled the bathrooms on Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah.
We were down there with guys like Michael Gerber and Rick Green. Rick is the guy out of Texas that does the wall builders, and he's also with TPUSA Faith and former representative. But we were down there, and that's when people at that time, Darren was a representative.
Right.
He
out
had
of nowhere
even announced he was going to run
from south of 80, nonetheless.
Senate.
Right. It's like we don't even know what's going on down there. And here's this guy out of nowhere. Yeah.
And the crowd had signs that said Bailey for governor.
Wow. Even back then. Isn't that just phenomenal?
In Memorial Day of 2020, Darren literally had just started, his term as a state senator. He had done 1 year or 1 term as a House representative.
Right.
But that when I mention Memorial Day, I can't help but think about that because literally she had the entire Lakeshore Drive.
Can you believe that? Unbelievable, the power that they had. And even though now, 3 years later, and we know they overcorrected, they'll never apologize. They're going to pretend that they didn't force us to do it. And we know the truth. We're not going to forget the truth. We're Christians. We have to forgive them. But you're not going to tell us that what happened didn't happen. We know better.
We have to live in the light because you're right. The darkness seems to be creeping in, but we're people of the light. And when we
know the
how
truth.
do you expose the darkness? We hear JB, he comes out and he lies and he lies and he lies. There's something, and I wanted to get to this before. I know we're going to go into another break, but they lied about Russian collusion. They lied about Trump's phone call to Ukraine. They lied about the Wuhan lab. They lied about the mask and vaccines. They lied about the feds being involved in J6. But they expect us to believe that 2020 election was the most secure in
That was the real thing. That was the real thing. Yeah, but that's the part we're supposed to believe. But I got to tell you, but we, as I said, if you know the truth, nobody can fool you. If you immerse yourself in the word, nobody can trick you. So that's what we need to do. But I got to tell you really quick, David, could you tell that my granddaughter slipped me a note and asked me could she have a cinnamon roll? I'm showing her that I'm on the air. She sends me this note. Can I have a cinnamon roll? I give it a thumbs up. You didn't even know that was happening. That's how I multitask. And I'm like, because I told everybody, do not come down here. I'm on the air. But she comes down anyway. She removes the gate, comes down, and she wants to know if she can have a cinnamon roll. And she asked for permission on a piece of paper.
I know who rules the roost around there. That's that granddaughter. And
that's Sadie.
Stephanie, you know what? There's so much that needs to be accomplished. Obviously, so much has been exposed. Once again, the light is shown upon the swampiness of Illinois, both on the Democrat and the Republican side.
Oh yeah, we've got snakes in the party, like Snakes on the Plane. That movie, we've got snakes in the party. We got to expose them.
And you got to get rid of them. Talk about how are we going to take back the state? Well, first we have to take back our party.
We have to get our own house in order first before we go across the aisle and battle them. And Tom DeVore said it on radio Friday in Chicagoland. He said, we'll never win another statewide race if the Republican Party does not get a ground game and in place. It's just that simple. We got to do it right now. We don't have the time. This is a time to encourage our leaders to do the right thing. Everything we've been doing, I'm tired of getting punched in the face. We've been losing. I want to win. So what are
That's
we going to
right.
do to win? That's what we need. So we got to stay motivated. I don't want to be negative. I want to be hopeful and say, this is what we got to do. We need to weed out the people that are keeping us from getting those W's.
Well, I'm making a proclamation right now, Stephanie. Stephanie Trussell for the chairperson of the Republican Party here in the state of Illinois. I am going to run with that and make that proclamation. We need new blood. We need the grassroots to be represented. There's no better person to represent the people of Illinois than Stephanie Trussell. Hey, Stephanie, thank you for joining us. Obviously, it's always good to see you.
It's my pleasure. And I'm going to have to send you a cinnamon roll now with that endorsement you gave me.
We'll send one for Kevin, too.
If Sadie will let you be, she might eat them all before I get off the air. But thank you so much, David. You're so kind. Such a pleasure. I'm just so blessed. And you talk about faith. The day I got on that bus and met you and everybody else in that team, my life has been just so fulfilled. Even though we didn't win, I wouldn't change a thing. Everything that I experienced over that year was God-breathed.
You were just getting started, my friend. We're just getting started. Hey, thank you once again, Stephanie, for joining us. We're going to be back here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal, right after this.
Oh, thank you. I wish I could stay longer, but I'm going to go upstairs. I've got so much. If you could see the camera, how much laundry I got to fold, you'd understand what I got to do. I moved the camera out of the way from my laundry basket.
Well, that's the thing, you know.
Because
we work it. We don't have.
We have to keep it. You know, all of our roles, all of our jobs, and even though Reagan doesn't have to be picked up from school now because he's off for the summer, I still have to pick up Sadie, and so my responsibility. And I work 4 days a week at Boss Dogs. My husband takes that very seriously. He missed me last week. He let me be off so I could help with Vivek, but I can't wait to get back to work on Tuesday. And I just, so we're going to keep in touch. Obviously, text me, call me anytime. And I'm just so inspired. I think tomorrow, I think my Facebook Live is going to be about what's our plan? What are we going to do? It's so funny. Aaron Del Mar, God told me to send him a text. Hey, Aaron, what are you up to? And he said, hey, why don't you come out to our township meeting and be our guest speaker June 3rd? So I'm going to go up to Palatine. And I said, what do you want me to talk about? He's like, the campaign. I'm going to start naming names. I'm going to start talking about.
And that's what we need to do, because
we have to be honest.
We have to be honest with people.
Truth with love.
Either it's working or it's not.
Or it ain't.
I heard this morning, and I'm going to leave you with this. We talk about principles, but we never talk about the presence. Just because you can talk the talk of being a Republican doesn't mean you're walking the walk. And that's the presence. Yeah. I don't see the fruit. Don, I don't see the fruit.
I just want, we love everybody. We're not being hateful. We're not angry villagers showing up with a pitchfork, but we just want, as I'm quoting Aaron DeMar, I'm tired of getting punched in the face. I'm just tired of losing. And we don't want more people to leave this great state. So let's stay here and fight. If you're here, you're called to get up and fight. Thank you, David. I know you're on the, you're a slave to the time, and I could talk to you forever, but
we could talk forever. I know that Kevin and I both want to see if we can get Vivek's information.
I'm going to send you, I'm going to send you the information right now.
Okay.
When I get off the,
And the one last thing before you hit the disconnect button. The guy, the general in War Games, said it best. He said that he would pee on a spark plug if he thought he would do any good. Don, it's nothing personal. It's not personal. I want to win. I want to be restored as an amazing state. It's nothing against you. It's the party that's broken. So
we deserve better leadership. We deserve to save this great state. And so everybody downstate from coast to coast, whatever, in this wonderful state, in the city to the little tiny farms, they deserve not to be in the position where they got to decide, should I leave? Because I can't afford the taxes because of what's happened with JB Pritzker. So thank you, David. We'll talk soon. Thank you. I'm sending you that number right now. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Perfect.
you. Okay.
Thank
have
you.
a good one. Bye-bye.